What's up, everybody? Welcome to Second and 15, a Philadelphia Eagles fan podcast for episode number 45. This is your host, Michael Roscoe, and we got a little bit to talk about tonight. A little bit of a shorter week this week, obviously, with the offseason at pretty much full swing. A lot of time in between now and training camps. May not have a lot to talk about, but that doesn't mean we don't have anything to talk about. So we're going to dive right into some of these topics tonight. However, before we get into all that, if you're watching this on YouTube, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button, as well as turn on those notifications so you don't miss a single moment of Second and 15 content. All right. This week, we're going to dive into a little bit of NFL news, as well as a little bit of Eagles discussion. So we'll start this off with some pretty interesting NFL news that we got going on this week. T-Law gets paid. Jacksonville Jaguars quarterback Trevor Lawrence signs a massive deal with a 5-year, $275 million extension, making him tied for the highest paid quarterback in NFL history with Joe Burrow. For right now at least, because, I have probably said this person is the highest paid quarterback now probably 3 or 4 times because that shit keeps changing. So for right now, T-Law and Joe Burrow are the highest paid quarterbacks. Anyway, now it's interesting, this whole quarterback contract thing that we got where everyone's got to get at least $50 million base salary. Am I right? However, I saw somewhere where Trevor Lawrence, who some people for some reason look at to be better than Jalen Hurts. I don't know why they would think that. But Trevor Lawrence, has almost identical stats to that of Daniel Jones, current quarterback of the New York Giants, who's getting paid $40 million per year right now. While Lawrence has a slightly better numbers in passing yards / passing attempts and passing yards per game, Jones has the higher stats in categories such as rushing attempts, rushing yards, and rushing touchdowns, as well as passing touchdowns. Sure, Jones has played about 10 or so more games than Trevor Lawrence has, but Jones only has 40 interceptions, while Trevor Lawrence has 39 in 10 less games than Jones. And some people say Trevor Lawrence is out here better than Jalen Hurts. So get out of here with that shit, because that could not be far from the truth if you're looking at a pure statistical standpoint and not just the 1 year of the, quote, Eagles collapse. Anyway, the real winners of this contract are not only Trevor Lawrence, obviously, but also his agent. Like, give that man a raise for getting him that much money per year, landing that huge contract. The losers behind this contract, though, definitely the Jags organization themselves. They're basically paying $15 million more a year for a blonde Daniel Jones. That's all I got to say about that. We're going to move on. We got some trouble in the 404. The Atlanta Falcons were found guilty of tampering with Kirk Cousins and 2 others, and will thus have to forfeit a 2025 fifth-round pick. And additionally, the organization will be fined $250,000 for violating the league's tampering rules. Now, for those who are watching who are unfamiliar with tampering, basically during free agency, the team is not allowed to directly talk to players who are free agents. They have to the team has to basically talk through the agents who represent the players. So if you do that, it's a violation of the tampering laws. And basically, punishments usually deal with fines, forfeiting draft picks. I think the Dolphins 1 year got in trouble, had to lose a first round pick, which is could be devastating if you've seen the way that certain players get drafted in the first round. You could miss out on a all-star player, but just you can't do that. Obviously the team wants certain players and they're going to do anything that they can do to get that player, but you got to stay with the rules. And some people might be like, Michael, why are you talking it like that? Didn't the Eagles have something with this? We're going to get into that later in the show and how it's slightly different. But basically, the Falcons are semi-screwed. I mean, a fifth-round pick, not that huge of a deal, but you do lose draft capital that you could use to trade for better draft picks. Kind of like the way Howie Roseman's been doing the past, God knows how many years, 4 or 5 now, with the way he collects draft picks like Infinity Stones and then dishes them out, trades them to get higher draft picks or players or anything like that. Basically, anything that he can do to get the team in a better position than it once was. All right. And that's a little bit of NFL news I want to talk about. And before I dive into the Eagles news and discussion, I'm going to give y'all a little word from our sponsors, starting with Righteous Felon Beef Jerky. If you're looking for a quick and delicious snack to get you through your workday, summer road trip, or just to cure your overall hunger, then you're going to want to dive into some Righteous Felon Jerky. I got the OG hickory flavor and the teriyaki balboa. I've only tried the hickory flavor so far, and it slaps. So get yourself some Righteous Felon Jerky today. If you go onto their website and use our promo code OCSN, all lowercase, you'll receive 15% off of your order, and orders over $50 will have free shipping. For all your favorite summer events, there's SeatGeek. Head on over to SeatGeek.com or download the app and use the promo code Old City Sports Network, all one word, for $20 off your purchase for your next sporting event, your next concert, you name it. Use SeatGeek today. And additionally, if you can't make your event, SeatGeek will offer you credit towards your next event so you don't miss out on anything financially. And finally, if you're someone like me, I care how I look, most of the time at least, and I try my best to make sure the facial hair I do have is looking its best. For that, you'll want to use Warlord Beard Oil. Head on over to warlordbeardoil.com, which is a veteran-owned company, and use promo code OLDSPORTS in all capitals for 15% off your beard oils, washes, soaps, anything that you need to keep yourself looking fresh and clean this summer. All orders over $75 will receive free shipping. And of course, you're going to want to head over to oldcitysports.com to go ahead and get those merchandise, y'all. We have tons of merchandise, not only from our show, but also the other shows within the network. Use the promo code Old City for 15% off your order. We got water bottles, camping mugs, fanny packs, you name it. Anything that you can purchase to help the show would be fantastic, and rock a little second 15 swag would be much appreciated. Go on over to oldcitysports.com and get yourself some merchandise today. All right, y'all, let's go on and dive into that Eagles news. So, you want to party with Jason Kelce this summer? The 4th annual Team 62 at the Ocean Drive will be this June 26th and 27th in Sea Isle City, New Jersey. This 2-day event has a goal to raise money for the Eagles Autism Foundation in their journey to provide research, funding, support, and services to those impacted by autism and within the autism community. It's a fantastic organization. They do so many fundraisers. There's so many different events to help out the autism community. You can donate to it even if you don't go to the event. I would suggest looking it up. It is fantastic. But anyway, all the VIP section tickets are sold out, but you can try your luck with the lottery for a $25 donation where 30 people will get randomly selected. While they do have family-friendly events on the 26th, those 21 and up can make their way to the bar where Jason Kelce, along with Eagles players and alumni such as Dallas Goedert, Jake Elliott, and more, will be manning the bar later that day. The next day, the Beer Bowl with Jason Kelce and special guests from the New Heights podcast will commence and be a fun day of debauchery, but all for a good cause. Now, I personally cannot make that event. It's in the middle of the work week for me, and I am pretty far from New Jersey at this current moment. But there is nothing more than I would want than to chug a beer with Jason Kelsey, or even do like a race against Travis, Jason, and myself. I'll probably never get the opportunity, but if y'all are listening and you want to do a beer chug challenge, definitely for it. I'll probably lose, but it's more about the experience than anything. Next, we got not guilty. And this is kind of based on what I was talking about earlier with the Falcons and their tampering. The Eagles were accused of tampering with newly acquired running back Saquon Barkley a few months back after basically there was a conversation where the head coach of Penn State made it seem like people from the organization were talking to Saquon directly. However, that was not the case. Regardless, though, they did an investigation, and it turns out that the Eagles will not be fined or receive any punishment for the alleged tampering with Saquon Barkley during that free agency. During the investigation, which included going through phone logs, text messages, laptops, you name it, there was no evidence of tampering, and thus the Birds won't be held liable. And thank God, because there was rumors of like us losing like a second round pick, a first round pick, basically, being the Dolphins of the 2024 season in terms of tampering scandals. But obviously, it doesn't seem like the Eagles did anything wrong with the lack of evidence there, or actually not even lack of evidence, no evidence. So the Eagles will not suffer from that because nothing was done, unlike the Atlanta Falcons. And I'm glad we can finally stop talking about this alleged tampering bullshit and just move on. All right. You're probably looking at this topic, LB versus OF, and are wondering, what the hell am I talking about? So, and a bit of interesting news surrounding a current Eagles player. According to Barstool Sports, linebacker Terrell Lewis, who was recently acquired, I think this year in free agency, was accused of refusing to pay an OnlyFans model that was promised to her after the two had quote unquote consensual sex. In a viral video seen on X, the model is seen naked chasing Lewis down a hotel hallway where she catches up to him. Not a good look for him, one. I mean, the whole situation realistically is not a good look, but that just is icing on the cake. The model named Mia Mercer has put him on blast all over social media after this altercation. Now, Barstool goes on to name it an L for the Philadelphia Eagles. I don't see this as an L for the Eagles. I see this as an L for Terrell. Um, because this guy, I would have guessed that he would have been cut prior to the final 53-man roster. We honestly haven't heard much about him, if anything at all, during OTAs or mini camps, mandatory camps, whatever. The only time I've heard about him since his signing, I feel like, has been this situation with this OnlyFans model. So it's an L for him for sure, not for as a representation for the whole team. Um, Definitely an L because one, having to pay for sex, and two, being caught up by a naked model after you refuse to pay her for said sex. So it's quite hilarious. You're supposed to be a pro athlete, you know, be faster than everyone else, stronger than everyone else. There's expectations of your speed, agility, etc. And you let an OnlyFans model catch up to you, not disrespecting those in that community. But if you were to say who would win this race, this NFL linebacker or an OnlyFans model, most people are probably going to guess the NFL linebacker. But to me, kind of this whole situation is kind of hilarious. After this whole thing, I can now say that the Eagles have more than one reason to cut this guy, not just for lack of good performance in camps, but it doesn't look good to essentially lose a race to a model that you refused to uh, pay for sex. Not a good look, my dude. So good luck with that. All right, y'all, we got some important dates coming up for your Philadelphia Eagles. The Eagles announced the date for the start of training camp, which is next month on July 23rd, which seems like it's a long way away, but the way this year has been, it'll be here before we know it. Hell, it's midway through June already, and I feel like January just happened yesterday. Additionally, their open practice, which will be Thursday, August 1st. Tickets are already on sale. They went on sale on Tuesday. They're only $10 for the public. But for $35, you can get a special VIP on the field experience before the practice starts. Now, I don't think you get to watch from the sideline, but you get to have a cool little experience for $25 more on the field before the starter practice. This will be the Birds' only open practice at the link, so you better get your tickets while you can. I made the drive up last year. It took me about like 4 hours and some change, and got there early enough to get a seat within the first few rows. I was waiting outside in the sun for a little bit, but to me, it was worth it. Didn't get any autographs, but I did get a pair of gloves from Darius Slay. At least I assume they're from him because he was walking with a trainer, and that same trainer, like 10 seconds after Darius went into the tunnel, comes up to me and gives me these pairs of gloves. So I'm assuming they're from you, Slay, before the end of practice. And that made the trip even much more worth it. As someone who's spent numerous times but has never actually lived in Philly, it's such an amazing atmosphere to be up there. I take any chance that I can get to get up there and immerse myself within the city of brotherly love. In addition to the practice, single game tickets are now available. And with the popularity of these games, you'll want to get these tickets while they're hot. I'm gonna try my best to make it up there this year, but I'll keep you guys updated. All right, last talking point for tonight. Cooper DeJean in the Fangio scheme. Um, Now, Cooper DeJean, I know we've been talking about him a lot lately. And I was watching the Thomas Mott show on YouTube where he mentioned that part of Fangio's plan may include DeJean's nickel position as like a hybrid linebacker, dime linebacker situation to help with better tackling within the box, coverage in the middle, etc. Now, last year, we know that the tackling sucked. We know that the secondary sucked. The linebacking core was not the greatest. A couple of signings that we thought would work well for us did not at all. And that's more of just, a team situational thing. Um, Tackling was a big issue, though. So I think from an overall standpoint, all the players need to work on tackling, not just kind of like take a couple guys and make them hybrid situation like tacklers, going from zone to zone, trying to make tackles because the rest of the team can't make tackles. We saw that with Reed Blankenship last year. He was all over the place making these tackles and he got injured, and that doesn't help fucking anyone. So definitely think a huge part of training camp should include these fundamental tackling skills. And as for Cooper DeJean, kind of like playing all these multiple different positions or like kind of testing the waters. I know they're testing the waters out at these things, but I've said this before. I think to start, find one position that he excels in compared to the others that you're testing him in and stick with that, because I would rather have somebody phenomenal at one position than kind of half-assed because he's been put all over the place at 6 different positions. I think if you are considering him in the nickel corner, focus him in the nickel corner. Now, if he's performing better in other places, put him in that place that he's performing the best. It's simple math, y'all. Because there's no sense in exhausting somebody's talent in all these different types of situations, which may or may not even occur. We got more linebackers, we got more corners. Safety is probably our biggest thing, but hopefully we get Justin Simmons at some point. Let the man play one position to start. I like part of me likes the idea of having him being able to be kind of like a hybrid player, but not at like 6 positions. If he can drop from corner to safety, sure, that probably may happen, and I would not be mad about it. But taking him from corner, then moving him to safety, then moving him to like a dime linebacker, then moving him from the outside to the nickel, etc., it's going to exhaust the man and it's going to ruin his potential talent. I think he needs that focus in that one area and make that his area of expertise. And if it doesn't work out in that down the road, then you've tested him in these other areas. Okay, choose the next position that he did the next best in and see if that works out. We're seeing position changes from with James Bradbury moving from corner to safety. It's not a foreign concept, but I think for right now, you need him to focus in one position and get good at the scheme in that one position instead of just trying to throw him all over the place and see what happens. Now, I imagine they have a big plan for this, but with all this talk about placing him all over the area, it kind of worries me a little bit. So right now, I think just if he's the best at nickel corner, have him play there, have him learn the scheme, have him learn what it's like to be in that on an NFL team, and let him excel and thrive there, y'all. All right, that wraps it up for this week's episode of Second and 15, a Philadelphia Eagles fan podcast. Thank you so much for watching this show. If you haven't already, go ahead and follow us on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and Twitter. The social medias are ticking at the bottom of the screen. And don't forget, we are presented by Old City Sports Network. So don't forget to follow them on the same social media websites. You can search Old City Sports Network and Second and 15, a Philadelphia Eagles fan podcast on any of those social media websites. And it's more than likely, if not guaranteed, to be the first names that pop up. So once again, thank you everybody for joining us tonight. And I hope to see y'all next week. Don't forget to say fly like an eagle and go birds.